Welcome back to the Tech Loft Podcast. If you're loving these deep dives, hit that subscribe button on Spotify and YouTube, and be sure to check out the show description. There are some links there about how to support the podcast. So today, we're tackling a question, one that's probably on the mind of anyone thinking about getting a PS5. Backwards compatibility. You want to experience the latest and greatest. But what about that PS4 library? Even those older PlayStation, those classics, can you still play them on the new console? Well, you're in luck. You're in luck because we've assembled a stack of sources just to break it all down and to help me navigate this world of compatibility is, well, I guess you could call them a gaming tech guru.
I try to keep up.
It's a passion, right?
Right.
I mean, for a lot of gamers, backwards compatibility was a big sticking point. With the PS4, I mean. So the fact that Sony has really leaned into it with the PS5, I mean, it's a big shift, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. A major selling point, for sure, for the PS5, for sure. And it shows that Sony's listening. They're listening to what gamers want. They've made it incredibly easy to access this massive library of games spanning multiple generations. It's pretty impressive on a technical level.
Let's jump right in. Let's jump right in with the PS4. One of our sources mentions that almost every single PS4 game is playable on the PS5.
Yeah.
That's got to be music to the ears of any gamer with a stack of PS4 discs, right?
Well, over 4,000 games, right? Talking those big blockbuster titles, the ones everyone knows, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, even smaller indie games, the ones you might have, discovered. And the process, it's simple, super simple. If you have the digital version, you just download it. If you have a disc, you just pop it in.
I think one of the coolest things is you can even transfer your game data, your saved games, your profiles, all that from your PS4 to your PS5. So no need to start from scratch.
Exactly. Makes the transition so smooth. To the new console, I mean. Nobody wants to lose hours of progress. Nobody wants to have to relearn the controls.
So it seems like they really thought of everything. Is it actually complicated, though? To transfer all that data, what's involved?
No, not at all. Not complicated. Basically, you just need both consoles connected to the same Wi-Fi. Or you can use a LAN cable if you prefer that.
Mm-hmm.
You start the transfer from the PS5 settings, and it walks you through it step by step. You can even pick what data you want to move over. So whether it's just your save data, specific games, or just everything.
That's slick. So it seems like PS4 compatibility on the PS5 is kind of a dream come true. Our source did mention a few PS4 games, though. A few that don't quite make the cut. Are we talking any major titles here?
No. Not really. Just a very small handful. Hitman Go Definitive Edition is one. That's a puzzle game. It's like a spin-off of the Hitman series. And there's Shadwin. It's a stealth action game. I think the developers for these games, they just haven't updated them for compatibility, or there's some technical snag preventing them from working on the PS5. But honestly, they're the exceptions, not the rule.
Good to know. Good to know. So it's not a deal breaker, not for most gamers. Now, I gotta ask about the DualShock 4. The PS4 controller. Any chance of wielding that familiar friend on the PS5?
Yeah, you can dust it off. It'll work on the PS5. But here's the thing. It only works with PS4 games. Makes sense, though, when you think about it. Sony wants you to have the full next-gen experience with their PS5 games. And to do that, they've brought in the DualSense controller, which has some pretty amazing features.
Okay, like what? Like what? I know some people are a little skeptical about the new controller.
Well, it has haptic feedback, which is basically it creates specific vibrations to mimic things, like different textures or impacts. So if you're walking on different surfaces in the game, you can actually feel the difference through the controller. It's crazy.
Wow. So it's not just the usual rumble feature. That's got to be pretty immersive.
And then there are the adaptive triggers. They're pressure-sensitive buttons. So the harder you press, the more resistance you feel. And they use that to simulate things, like drawing back a bowstring or squeezing a trigger,
Oh, wow. Okay, I see why they want you to use that for their PS5 games.
Oh.
But it's nice they've kept the DualShock 4 compatibility for the PS4 library. I'm sensing a theme here. Options. Now, for the retro gamers out there, what about those older generation PlayStation games? Can we relive the glory days of the PS1, PS2,
PS3
on the PS5?
You can tap into that nostalgia, but there's a slightly different approach here. Unlike with the PS4 games, you can't just pop in those old discs. To access the PS1, PS2, and the PS3 games, you need a PlayStation Plus subscription.
Oh, interesting. So not quite as straightforward. What are the details on that?
To play those classic games, you'll need to sign up for either PlayStation Plus Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium. They both give you access to a bunch of games and Premium. You can even stream some of them. Think of it like, like Netflix, but for PlayStation games.
Okay, so there's a cost. That's understandable, but it might be a barrier, for some gamers.
Yeah,
especially those who just want to replay a few old favorites.
True. The subscription model isn't for everyone, but it's worth noting the subscriptions offer a lot more than just access to classic games. You get new releases, online multiplayer, exclusive discounts, and more.
So it's kind of a trade-off. You're paying for this bigger package, gaming perks and services, and in that you get access to this selection of classic games. What does that selection look like?
Sony has put together a pretty diverse library of PS1, PS2, and PS3 games. For these, for these subscriptions, you'll find iconic titles like the original Crash Bandicoot, Metal Gear Solid, and even Resident Evil 4. But it's not the complete library of older generation games. It's more like a curated selection.
That makes sense. Makes sense from a business standpoint. But it's a little bittersweet, for those who might be hoping for a specific game
from their childhood.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the library's always expanding, so there's always a chance, that your favorite might make its way onto the service eventually. And in the meantime, the hundreds of games they offer should keep you plenty busy. It sounds like a pretty good deal overall, especially for those who love variety and want to explore different genres and eras of gaming. So we've covered PS4 compatibility. We've talked about older generations. It all sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
But now let's get into the nitty gritty of actually playing those PS4 games on the PS5. Is it the same old experience, or has Sony sprinkled in some next-gen magic? Stay tuned, because after a quick break, we'll unpack those enhancements and limitations that you need to know about.
Oh, it's definitely not the same old experience now. Sony's they've done some really clever things to make those PS4 games, to really make them shine, using that PS5 power.
Okay, spill the beans. What kind of magic are we talking about?
One of the biggest differences you'll notice is the loading times. Well, I guess I should say the lack of loading times. The PS5, it's got that super fast SSD, and it's a game changer. Games that used to take, ages to load on the PS4, they're practically instant on the PS5. It's almost surreal.
That's got to be a huge, a huge quality of life improvement, especially for games with those notoriously long loading screens. No more staring at a loading bar for minutes on end.
And it doesn't stop there. Sony also has, they've implemented a feature called Game Boost. It's basically a way for the PS5 to enhance certain PS4 games by using its more powerful hardware.
So it's like a turbo boost for your old games. What kind of enhancements are we talking about here?
Well, it varies from game to game, but you might see smoother frame rates, makes the gameplay, makes it feel more fluid, more responsive. Some games might even get a resolution boost, which will make them look, sharper, more detailed. On a 4K TV, I mean. And in some cases, you might even see improvements to the visual effects, like better lighting or shadows.
So it's like giving those older games, it's like giving them a fresh coat of paint, but without having to, without actually having to remaster them. Now, you mentioned this Game Boost. It isn't universal. Why is that? Why don't all PS4 games get this magical upgrade?
Well, it's not as simple as flipping a switch, Game Boost, it relies on the PS5 to interpret the PS4 game's code and figure out how to best, utilize its own hardware to enhance it. And sometimes there are quirks in the code or specific features that don't really translate well to the PS5 architecture. So it really depends. It depends on how the game was designed originally.
Interesting. So it's a bit of a technical dance, and some games just don't have the right moves. But for those that do, it sounds like it can be a significant improvement.
Oh, it really can. In some cases, it can make a PS4 game look and feel almost like a native PS5 title.
I'm digging this this best of both worlds approach. Now, before we move on from the PS Plus subscriptions, I want to dig a little deeper into the different tiers. You mentioned extra and premium. What are the key differences, and which one would you recommend?
That's a good question. The main difference is the library of games and the streaming option. With PS Plus Extra, you get access to a catalog, hundreds of PS4 and PS5 games. Think of it like a giant library. It's always expanding, and you can download and play as long as you're as long as you're subscribed.
So it's like a subscription, a subscription-based game library, kind of like those music or video streaming services. What about premium?
Premium takes it up a notch. You get everything in the extra tier. Plus, you get access to a selection of PS1, PS2, and PS3 games, and you can actually you can stream some of them directly to your PS5, no downloads.
Wow, that's pretty cool. It's like having a virtual retro console.
Yeah.
Right there, built into your PS5.
Yeah.
So for those who who really love those classic PlayStation titles, it seems like premium is the way to go.
Yeah, if you're all about those classics, or you want to experience them for the first time, and the idea of streaming them, appeals to you, then yeah, premium is definitely it's definitely the best option.
So there's a clear distinction: extra for the big game library, premium for the retro experience, and streaming. But let's face it, not everyone's gonna jump on the subscription bandwagon. Some people prefer to own their games, or maybe they're on a tight budget. What are the downsides of these subscriptions?
The recurring cost is the most obvious. You're paying a monthly or annual fee to access these games, and if you stop paying, you lose access. So you're not actually owning the game. It's more like renting them.
Yeah, it's a key consideration. It's like streaming a movie versus buying the DVD.
Exactly. And it's worth noting the games available through PS Plus, they can change over time. Some games might be removed from the library, others are added. So it's not a static collection.
Okay. So there's some potential for disappointment there.
Yeah.
If your favorite game suddenly disappears. But I guess that's the trade-off, for having access to such a vast and an ever-evolving library. Now, let's talk about the technical side of things for a moment. The PS5 has some pretty impressive hardware with that super fast SSD and a powerful graphics processor. Does this translate into any tangible benefits for PS4 games?
Yeah.
Even beyond the Game Boost feature?
Absolutely. Even without Game Boost, PS4 games, they can benefit from that PS5 power. We already talked about the loading times, but the PS5, it can also output higher resolutions than the PS4. So even if a game doesn't officially support, doesn't support Game Boost, it might still look and run better on the PS5.
So it's like those PS4 games. They were just waiting for the PS5 to come along and unleash their true potential, almost like experiencing them for the first time all over again. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, the whole disc versus digital debate. We know you can play PS4 discs on the PS5, but is there any advantage to going all digital?
There are pros and cons to both. Really, with digital games, you get the convenience of instant access. You buy it, you download it, you play it. No need to swap discs. No worries about losing or damaging those physical copies. And some people just prefer the streamlined experience of having all their games in one digital library.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend that we're seeing across the whole entertainment industry. I mean, music, movies, now games. There's something to be said for having that physical disc, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For some people, there's a certain satisfaction in owning a physical copy. It feels more tangible, more collectible, and you can often find used PS4 games at lower prices than their digital counterparts.
So it really comes down to personal preference. What's your setup? Are you team disc or are you team digital?
I actually have a mix of both. I tend to buy digital for games I want to play right away, or for online multiplayer games. But for those big single player games, those story driven ones, I sometimes like to get the disc.
Yeah, I get that. There's something nice about having that that physical presence.
Yeah.
On your shelf. And speaking of shelves, we're talking about a lot of games here.
Yep.
It seems like backwards compatibility on the PS5 is all about all about giving gamers choices.
Yeah. That's what I find so impressive about Sony's approach. They're not forcing you into one way of playing. They're saying, "Hey, we know you have a history with PlayStation, and we want to make sure you can continue that journey on your terms."
It's refreshing, honestly. It shows they understand the emotional connection that we have with our games.
And it goes deeper than just the games themselves. It's about memories. It's about nostalgia. Those moments you shared with friends or family playing certain games. And backwards compatibility, it allows you to bring those experiences into the present and even share them. Share them with new generations.
It's like a bridge.
Yeah.
Between different eras of gaming.
Yeah.
You can introduce your kids to the games that that shaped your childhood, or relive those epic gaming sessions with your college buddies. It's a powerful way to connect across generations, and it's not just about personal nostalgia either. It speaks to a broader trend of preserving video game history and making it accessible to a wider audience.
Exactly. It's about ensuring that those classic games, they don't fade into obscurity, and that future generations, they can appreciate the evolution of gaming and the creativity that has shaped the industry.
It's like a virtual, a virtual museum of gaming, showcasing the artistry and the innovation that's led us to where we are today. Now, I have to ask, in all your explorations of PS5 backwards compatibility, what are some of the most surprising or unexpected things that you've encountered?
Well, one thing that really blew me away was just how well some PS4 games perform on the PS5, even beyond what Game Boost delivers. I was playing Ghost of Tsushima, which is a beautiful game, open world samurai game, and it was like night and day compared to the PS4 version. The frame rates were so smooth, and the world felt even more vibrant, more detailed, and the loading times practically non-existent. It was like a whole new level of immersion.
I've heard similar things from other gamers. It seems like some games just they just really come alive on PS5. Any other surprises?
The sheer variety of games available through PlayStation Plus was pretty surprising. I found myself going down this rabbit hole of classic PS1 RPGs that I hadn't played in years, and the fact that you can stream some of them, it's a game changer. It makes it so easy, so easy to jump in, relive those old favorites without having to dig out your old consoles or worry about compatibility.
It's like having an entire history
of
PlayStation gaming
right
at your fingertips. That's pretty impressive. Now, we've been singing the praises here of backwards compatibility, but I'm curious, are there any aspects of it that you think could be improved or expanded upon?
You're always pushing me to think critically. I do think there's room for improvement when it comes to cloud gaming. Sony's already dipping their toes in, with that streaming option for PS Plus Premium. But I'd love to see him push the boundaries further. Imagine being able to stream any PS1, PS2, even PS3 game directly to your PS5. No need to download them or rely on a local disc. That would open up a whole new level of accessibility,
right, and convenience.
It's like having a virtual library of classic games that you can access instantly, no matter where you are. I like where your head's at. Any other areas for improvement? I'd also love to see Sony delve a little deeper into preserving older games, the ones that might not have a huge commercial appeal, but are still important pieces of gaming history. Think about those quirky Japanese RPGs, early indie experiments, or even those educational games from past generations.
Like a digital archive of gaming's past.
Yeah.
Preserving those hidden gems and making sure make sure they're not forgotten.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that video games are, they're more than just entertainment. They're a form of art, a cultural phenomenon, and a reflection of our technological advancements. Preserving that history, making it accessible. It's crucial, for understanding the impact of gaming on our society.
That's a really powerful point. It's not just about, it's not just about entertainment. It's about preserving a piece of our culture.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe some of those, those obscure games from the past, they could inspire the next generation of game developers.
Absolutely. Innovation often comes from looking back and drawing inspiration from what came before.
Well said.
Oh, yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from the technical nuts and bolts to the emotional and historical significance of backwards compatibility. It's been fascinating. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to you, the gamer. If you're thinking about getting a PS5, or maybe you already have one and you're not fully utilizing its backwards compatibility features. Hopefully this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of what's possible.
And maybe it's even sparked some ideas for how you can reconnect with those classic games that hold a special place in your heart, or introduce a whole new generation to the joys of retro gaming.
Now, I want to leave you with one final thought, something to ponder as you fire up your PS5 and embark on your next gaming adventure. We've talked about all the positives of backwards compatibility, the convenience, the value, the nostalgia. But what about the potential downsides? Could there be any unintended consequences of making it so easy to cling to the past? Does it in some way hinder innovation, or limit the creative potential of new consoles? It's a complex question with no easy answers, but it's worth considering as we continue to see how backwards compatibility evolves and shapes the future
of gaming. That's a great point to ponder. It's a conversation that will likely continue as technology advances, and our relationship with games continues to evolve.
And with that thought-provoking question, we'll wrap up this episode of the Tech Loft Podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on Spotify and YouTube, so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. And for those of you who want to support the show, be sure to check out the links in the show description. For more tech insights, news, and reviews, head over to thetechloft.com. Thanks for listening to the Tech Loft Podcast. Share this episode with a friend, and we'll catch you in the next one.
It's more than just a feature, I think. It's a commitment.
Sure.
From Sony, I mean, to preserve gaming history, give gamers choices, and create a truly immersive experience, one that spans generations.
That's perfect, and I think it really speaks to the power of gaming as a medium. It's not just about the latest graphics or the newest gameplay mechanics. It's about the shared experiences, those memories, and those connections that we forge, through the games that we play.
If we think about the bigger picture here, backwards compatibility is a way of it's a way of acknowledging that history and carrying it forward into the future.
It's a powerful statement, and it's something I think all gamers can appreciate.
Yeah.
Regardless of what console they prefer. We've learned a lot today, about the ins and outs of PS5 backwards compatibility, and it's clear that Sony has gone above and beyond to make it a seamless and enjoyable experience, whether you're a seasoned PS4 veteran, or a newcomer to the PlayStation family. There's a way for you to access and enjoy the vast library of games spanning multiple generations.
That's a great point. It's not just for the hardcore gamers. It's for everyone. It's about opening up that world to a wider audience and ensuring those classic games they continue to be enjoyed for years to come.
Couldn't agree more. So for those of you out there on the fence about getting a PS5, or maybe you already have one, and you're not fully utilizing those backwards compatibility features. Hopefully this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of what's possible.
And maybe it's sparked some ideas for how you can reconnect with those classic games that that have a special place in your heart, or introduce a whole new generation to the joys of retro gaming.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on Spotify and YouTube so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. And for those of you who want to support the show, be sure to check out the links in the show description. For more tech insights, news, and reviews, head over to techloft.com. Thanks for listening to the Tech Loft Podcast. Share this episode with a friend, and we'll catch you in the next one.